Guys, this is our little next YouTube video. We have a lot of stuff on the table to discuss. A lot of you might say this is very simple stuff, but it can get tricky. We'll start with the first one here, the largest one. This is for a hot water tank. You want to make sure you get the right size. They have different fittings. Some of them already soldered on to a copper pipe. Some of them might use compression fitting. This is the coarse thread fitting. Female on this side, female on this side here. Okay, there are different ways to do this. Some of these actually come with a ball valve also. I don't think I have one here in stock to show you, but they're different ones, so you want to take a picture before you go replace one of these if you didn't pull the old one out. Before you touch any of these things, you got to make sure to turn the water off. Would be the smartest way to go. I have seen people make that mistake. Whether they're changing a toilet supply line, a faucet, or hot water tank, you got to shut the water off, drain it. If you're working on a hot water tank and you open up, or you're working on the hot water, there is a cold water supply to it, so you can get a crossover if you use a faucet downstairs or somewhere else in the house where the plumbing is connected together, and you can actually get the cold water come out of the hot side. So you want to make sure nobody uses the water if you're replacing hose on the hot water tank. Okay, just make sure to tell everybody do not use the water until you're finished. Okay, these can be more tricky than they look, and this one is nice and flexible. We have a black one around here somewhere which is more flexible. This is stainless steel on the outside, so that's good. I've had problems with this one here with a different one where after a while, could be years, you would get black sediment coming out of your hot water tank. You would think it might be a gate valve connected to it, where it has a washer inside, or it might be in the tank. Usually here, 95% of the time tends to be the plastic inside the hose actually starts to disintegrate from the heat, and we have to change the hose and we're good to go. Alright, so something else to consider, hot water tank hose. Okay, next would probably be one I don't use very much. You still see it. It's this one here. This is a PEX style. Has a little ferrule here. Other ones you might see a compression ring. I'll show you that on an angle stop in a second. Excuse me. Show you that on an angle stop in a second. Once I can clear my throat. But basically you would put your nut here on the ferrule and it would tighten up against the fitting here and you would be good to go. This one right here. Okay, put that there. Okay. These work surprisingly well. I've never seen one of these break. But I don't use them that much. I guess in different locations, different things go, and you might use these more. They are something to consider. They come in chrome, they come in copper, and they come in this PEX style. But I've had no issues with this one. I've ever run across it. Okay, I'm gonna hold on to this one for a second because we're gonna discuss that one later on in a minute. Okay, these can go on faucets and toilets. It's according to the nut that you put on there. Toilets tend to have a 7/8, I believe, on this side over here, and faucets tend to have a 1/2 inch, I believe, on this side here, or 3/4. What is this? A 1/2 inch for the toilet. 1/2 inch. That's a regular supply line for a faucet, and it's 7/8. Excuse me. This is the toilet line, 7/8, and this one here should be, if I can read it correctly, 27 inch. This is a toilet supply line. It's a long one. I don't have a faucet one here. I have to go get one. That would be a smaller size. That would be a 1/2 inch. Okay. Okay, this one here is definitely 1/2 inch. Okay, you can see that there's 1/2 inch, 3/8 compression on this side, which is a finer thread, and 1/2 inch coarse thread here, which actually goes to the faucet. Okay, so you can see that. This is definitely stainless steel. You can find ones that look like stainless steel. They're not. You can pretty much feel with your fingernail if it's steel. You're gonna feel it. Okay, so when you get these, the plastic ones are not a favorite, recommended. They actually have ones here that have a shut off in case the line breaks. Something else to consider on this. But not my favorite plastic ones. I've rarely ever seen one of these break. It depends on the location. Knowing your city water pressure or your town water pressure can help. I've seen pressure from above 40 to close to 90 psi. Over here is very high. I would not suggest this in the location where we are right now. It's about 85 psi. I don't know why the water pressure is so high over here, but it is very high. something else to consider. So the plastic ones are not exactly recommended, okay? The stainless steel, braided stainless steel ones are. They cost maybe $2 more, but they're definitely worth it in the long run. Less chances it's going to break on you. I've never seen one of these break. Okay, so that's something to consider. Toilet lines here, and faucet line, and another long, extra long toilet line. Leave this one here. We'll discuss this one in a minute. Now we got some adapters I'm going to show you. We're going to discuss real quick. Whoops, this right here, so we can try to keep everything in focus. Okay, try to keep everything in focus there. There we go, right there. Okay. This is a sweat-on. Looks like a 1/2-inch pipe. And this is a 1/4 turn ball valve inside there. See if you guys might be able to get that in there. It's a 1/4 turn ball valve in there. I don't know if the light is adequate enough that you guys might be able to see that. Okay, but this is sweat-on. That's 3/8 compression on there. 1/4 turn ball valves are better than per se gate valves where you have to turn. And it has a washer inside. Some of them have an actual gate that lifts and closes. They're a little bit different. Let's see if I can find one here. Of course, I already got one. I just gotta find it. Okay, here we go. We got one. Hey. This is what a traditional style gate valve looks like. Let's see if I can open it up. Can you see the gate opening up there? It's a flat gate with a rubber washer. This is the one that says sometimes the washer disintegrates as you got this coming out of your hot water in your tub. You're thinking it might be that or the hose, which I expressed previously. Okay, other times it's a gate valve that goes up and down like this instead of on a flat plane with seats on the valve itself. It's and it'll strip out. I see that usually on the shutoffs on the mains for locations, whether it be a townhouse, a home, condo, something like that. I see a lot of those. We try to switch these out over here as much as possible for a ball valve, which basically has a handle on it, very similar to the 1/4 turn. Okay, these are also not very much recommended. If you have to change one out, definitely put in a ball valve. Do not put this in. Okay, wow, I'm kind of not getting it right here. Sorry about that, you guys. You also see the red color on there. Basically, it's for hot. Sometimes you'll see blue for cold. You can put 2 reds on there. Domestic stuff like townhouses and homes, I've never had a problem with this because they basically use the same stuff. You can take this out and you can pull the stem out and change the rubber washer inside. There's a little bleeder to get air out. So you're working on a certain type of system. Helps get air bubbles out, okay? So you don't have to break the line like that. On here. This is a ball valve right here. Okay, that's what you want to consider. This one happens to be a double compression. This is for emergency purposes only. I'm not allowed to sweat inside the wall in my location where I'm at. Previous locations I would. So this could be an issue where I could use something like this. Maybe a union. And I don't have to sweat, and I can hopefully get this in emergency for a hot water tank or something like that. Where it was sweated, I have to cut the pipe, or I'll use a fitting. Where are these fittings? Got everything all over the place here. All kinds of fittings here. Okay, this is fitting you might put on a 3/4 inch pipe. This is a shark bite. Not recommended here. One or two of them blew out. Not on me, thank God, but definitely on the tenant and definitely on an employee. Not recommended here. 85 psi on the supply water here. Very tricky. Although shark bite is probably the better one. It should say shark bite on it. It shouldn't be a different manufacturer. You can see all the teeth in there. Hopefully, there's a lot of them in there. There isn't a small amount. And they work pretty good. If this is also an exterior line that can freeze, this will pull out. Okay, if the pipe freezes, this will pull right out. So not recommended on location where I'm at. Okay, if you have less pressure, yeah, you're good to go. You can use something like that. I prefer the compression fitting adapter like this so I can hook up my hot water tank hose. Okay, then this. If you have 70 psi or below, if you can figure out what it is, you can probably get away with this without no issues. But anything above that, I would not put this on there. Okay, you're asking for trouble, sooner or later you're on vacation, something like that, not a good deal. Now, if you have an emergency and you have to do it overnight, that's all you got, yeah, it's good enough for that. Yes, sir. I would definitely say so. No problem. On copper pipe. Okay. Alright, a few more adapters. This is an angle stop, compression fitting here. Okay, and basically what it is compression fitting on this side. Instead of having that furrow on the plastic PEX line, you have a brass compression ring here, and it compresses around the copper pipe. I like these a lot. Once they're on, I've never had an issue with them. They might leak. I tend to use pipe dope on this because it makes the tightening of this unit smoother, and you can get a tighter grip on it if you use pipe dope on here instead of Teflon tape, and it helps me lock it in tighter. Okay, using pipe dope on the threads here. Definitely recommend it. Usually I don't need it for a supply line here on a 3/8 connection. Maybe Teflon tape if you like, but a lot of people get away without it. Another thing I tend to pass on is if you're using a supply line here and you're tightening this, there isn't a whole lot of rubber in there. So you want to hold this piece while you crimp it down and tighten this down. You don't want this to twist on you like this while you're tightening it, because you can actually destroy the piece inside. Now you got to replace the line. So something to note. Okay. A couple adapters here. Let's get into those and we're almost done. Alright, another shark bite angle stop. For emergency purpose, okay, not recommend. If it doesn't say shark bite, it might not be good enough. If you look at the shark bite ones, you'll see a lot of teeth inside. Alright, this one I can't tell you what you're going to see inside. Okay? Alright. Sometimes you go to put one of these on, and it might be 1/2 inch here. On this side, this is a coarse thread. So this goes to a 1/2 inch piece of pipe. Actually, copper pipe, whatever pipe you're using there. This is a coarse thread. This is pipe thread here, this female. This is not a compression thread on this one. They're different. They're finer on the compression thread. Okay, that's a 1/2 inch. This is also 1/2 inch adapter for the coarse thread for a piece of pipe. So this one goes on the pipe itself. This one does not go on a 1/2 inch. This one here is 3/8 for a piece of pipe, 3/8, and it looks exactly like this one, which is 1/2 inch. This one here, this is 1/2 inch compression, which is what we use here. We use 3/8 and 1/2 inch compression. So for the longest time I try to get this one on, they don't fit, and it looks exactly the same size. It's not. It's a little bit different. It looks like it fits on there, doesn't fit on there. This is the right size that we use here in this location. We have shut-off valves, angle stops like this, that have, instead of 3/8 compression, they actually have 1/2 inch compression. So kind of tricky. Be careful with that, okay? If you pull something out like this, it's this big and it's a coarse thread, you got the right adapter here. If it's a fine thread, 1/2 inch, then you need a special adapter for it, okay? This is what we use here, very common. So I'm glad I'm pointing all this out. Hope to save you guys some time and some money. Okay, we're almost down to the wire. 2 more items to show. This one is kind of special. This is an inline shut-off. So you have a handle, old school style handle that turns. It's not a quarter turn. It has a stem, might be plastic, and it just doesn't work. Or the handle is just corroded. Somebody chewed it up with a channel lock or a tool, and you cannot get it off. Or the stem has a nub on it. They just wore it out, so you can't really shut off the line. If you can shut off the water to the apartment, you can actually put this right here, 3/8 compression inline shut off. Put that where the hose was going, and now you have a quarter turn shut off inline. So you don't have to replace the valve. So this could save you a lot of time and money knowing about this little guy. Okay, that's why it's on the table. Okay, so I think you guys got all that for now. Definitely a Teflon tape on these guys and pipe dope on the compression stuff. Okay, to make it easier to put on, and it goes on smoother and more secure. You can really torque it down when you put a little bit of pipe dope on here, okay? Like that a lot. Last item I want to discuss is right here. So you're gonna say, come on, what's that about? It's a a small vice grip with a needle nose in the front. Well, you have an emergency, you got to shut something off. It has a supply line, and there's no way to shut it off. You can't find the shut-off valve. You're flooding the place. It's a bathroom, whatever it is, a dishwasher, a washing machine. This guy can save you tremendous amount of damage. Excuse me. Basically, I will adjust it so it's not quite closed. It leaves a little bit of gap there, like that. Okay, hopefully you guys got that. And I will take a compression line like this to force it. If I can't shut it off and I have to shut it off, could be a toilet supply line, and I just shut off that line in emergency issue. And I saved the owner a ton of money by shutting off until we figure out a solution. Are we shutting off in the location, or are we shutting off street side? Till we figure out a solution and putting a new valve in, what are we doing? This can save you. This is the old plumber's trick from decades ago.